Hi everyone, welcome to our Christmas devotional. My name is Abby and this is Brian, if you don't know us already. One of the things that Brian and I have watched this Christmas season has been the movie Spirited. It's a new Will Ferrell movie starring Ryan Reynolds. And Will Ferrell's created a lot of Christmas content. I think some of his best has been Elf and then also Daddy's Home 2. However, this one was pretty good. Involved a lot more singing than those other two movies. But it's actually a spin-off of the Christmas Carol, the common story that's told around Christmas time. And so really that's where we're going to start off today, is talking about A Christmas Carol.
Yeah, so let's have a little trivia. And just so you guys know, Abby went 3 for 8 on trivia. So if you do better, if you get at least 50%, you beat Abby. But just a reminder, Christmas Carol, it's a story of Scrooge, who's kind of this grumpy man, doesn't have anyone to love, and he's visited by the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and yet to come. And through that experience, he has a change of heart. He repents. He changes the way he treats people as going forward. And so, let's dig into the trivia. Trivia question number 1 for you. Why does Scrooge like the darkness? Is it because it's quiet, because it costs less, privacy, or option D, it's a way to mourn? The answer is it costs less. So hopefully you are 1 for 1. Abby's got the second question.
All right, it says, how many children does Bob Cratchit have? 2, 4, or 6, or 8? And the answer is 6.
Abby got that one right. Scrooge once had a fiance. What was her name? Was it Fran, Bella, Martha, or Estella? The answer is Bella. Fran is his sister, and I don't really know where the other 2 names come from.
All right, as of 2021, how many live action film adaptations have been made based on A Christmas Carol? Is it 20, 40, 60, or 80? And the answer is 40.
All right, so right now, if you've gotten them all correct, you beat Abby. And question 5, what holiday greeting became popular after its mention in the classic novella? Happy Holidays, Season's Greetings, Yuletide Greetings, or Merry Christmas? Surprising to know, it is actually Merry Christmas. Before then, they just said Happy Christmas.
And then one of the ghosts is female. Which one is it? The ghost of Christmas past, the ghost of Christmas present, or the ghost of Christmas yet to come, or Fran? And the answer is the ghost of Christmas past.
All right, and so here are some questions for the nerds. How long did it take Charles Dickens to write A Christmas Carol? Was it 1 day, 1 week, 6 weeks, or 3 months? The answer is it took him 6 weeks to write it, and it was actually published on December 18th, just in time for Christmas.
And then how quickly did he sell out of books for the first publishing? 1 day, 5 days, 10 days, or 20 days? The answer is 5 days.
Yeah, and crazy enough, he sold out twice more before the new year. Pretty crazy. And hopefully you had good success in our trivia quiz. Get us into the framework of a Christmas. My bad. A Christmas Carol. Now, Charles Dickens, he wrote this because he was frustrated in his town, and not even just his town, but all of Britain, with their view of poverty, and especially their view on child labor. And the main message for this is a call for us to change while bringing hope. And what a perfect story Because really, as we come into Christmas, the story of Jesus' birth is all about hope. It's all about bringing hope to others. And that's really what he hoped, as the author, would inspire others to do. Would bring hope to others because of a changed mindset, a repentant heart. Now, let's flip over and read in Luke chapter 1, verse 26 through 33. It reads, "In the 6th month of Elizabeth's pregnancy, God sent the angel Gabriel to Nazareth, a town in Galilee, to a virgin pledged to be married to a man named Joseph, a descendant of David. The virgin's name was Mary. The angel went to her and said, 'Greetings, you who are highly favored. The Lord is with you.' Mary was greatly troubled at his words and wondered what kind of greeting this may be. But the angel said to her, 'Do not be afraid, Mary. You have found favor with God. You will conceive and give birth to a son, and you are going to call him Jesus. He will be great and will be called the Son of the Most High. The Lord God will give him the throne of his father David, and he will reign over Jacob's descendants forever. His kingdom will never end.'" And as we dig into this passage, briefly in this recording, I want to highlight just a very simple 2 questions you can ask when you're doing any really Bible study about Jesus. The first question is, what do we receive from Jesus? And the second, very similar, what can we imitate from Jesus? For example, if you're looking at the story of the cross, you could receive forgiveness, but you can imitate his habit or pattern of self-sacrifice. So let's dig into this story. What do we receive from Jesus?
So the first point of our little lesson here is we receive hope. So if you place yourself in the role of Mary or the shepherds, they had been waiting for a sign from God for a long time as a part of the Israelite people. They knew that they were not right with God, and they were waiting for a Messiah to be able to make that connection and reconcile them to God. They had been oppressed for hundreds of years by different ruling authorities in the area, and now had this promise of a new king that would restore and create a new kingdom. And maybe this week or even this past year, you don't see how the light at the end of the tunnel, maybe similar to how Mary and the shepherds did during this time. Things or thoughts like, I don't see how this will get better, or I don't see how this is all going to work out, have probably crossed your mind at different places. And we have hope for us today. And I think, what does that look like? Okay, we're not Mary and the shepherds. Jesus has already gone to the cross and died for us. So what does that look like for us today? And it means that we have hope for better futures, but a future that's not of this world. We have a future of eternity, a place where we get to be with God for the rest of our lives and not have to worry. I think there's something so much bigger and better than what we're experiencing now. I think it can be very easy to get bogged down in the everyday, day-to-day life and not see the bigger meaning beyond that. And then Jesus also gives us the hope that we can change. And I think this was something that, as I became a Christian, was really valuable to me. Just this idea that I didn't have to be the same person for the rest of my life, that Jesus gave me the ability to do that. And I think that's one of the biggest questions that people ask today is, can people change? And many may say it's impossible for people to change, especially when we've known that one person that's just been the same way for as long as we've known them. I think we can look at it and see, okay, it's impossible for them to change. But what Jesus brings is that even the most stubborn people can change. They can grow and they can develop and they can become more like Jesus. And that's amazing for us. And that's an amazing hope that we can have, that people can change, that we can change. And I think you may have even felt that this year. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I keep doing this or struggling with this. But knowing that like Jesus gives us the ability and other people the ability to become more like him. So as we go into this holiday season, we have to let our hearts receive this hope that Jesus gives us. There's something beyond this world that we get to look forward to because of Jesus. We also need to recognize and deeply meditate on the fact that God can change people and allow hope to flow through these situations, these relationships that you think may never get better, and wait expectantly for what God is going to do.
Yeah, I even think about in the story that Charles Dickens wrote, nobody expected Scrooge to change. But there is hope that was brought to him. Not through Jesus, but we can even change. And I really appreciate that message that Jesus brings us hope for the future. Secondly, though, if we're not just talking about what we can receive from Jesus, but how can we imitate Jesus? And the biggest thing Jesus does in this story with being announced to his mom that through the angel Gabriel that he's going to be birthed is simply he brings hope. And so for us, how can we imitate giving hope to others? As I mentioned, Jesus brought hope. Abby mentioned the ways he brought hope to those people. Now, as Christians, we can't simply just receive it, because that isn't the full picture of the Christian life. You have to also give. It's really funny because in some ways we can imitate Jesus in giving hope, but one way we can't is we can't be the Messiah, right? We're not the ones being born to save the world. Abby, when she was younger, was taught that the Israelites, the Jewish people, needed and were still waiting for the Messiah. And so at one point, cutely, she said to her family that she wanted to volunteer to be the Messiah. Unfortunately, that's not the case, right? We can't do that. Abby didn't understand the prophecies at the time or the fact that Jesus, the true Messiah, had already come. But what are some things we can do that will bring hope? I think the first thing you can do is you can believe in people. You can encourage them. You can lift them up. You can honor them. You can have hope for them. Oftentimes, as we said, we can have very little hope for our own life. But one of the greatest things we can do is we can have hope for others. We can hope that they can change. We can hope that God will enter into their life. We can hope for them that they can overcome that certain sin or have a next year that is grander and better than any year before. How often are people told they're not good enough? We can bring hope by being the opposite of that, by telling people you are good enough, that God with you is wonderful, and you guys can do anything. Secondly, another way you could bring hope this year is by teaching people about Jesus, right? If he's the one to bring the ultimate hope, let's just teach people about him. The great thing is, you don't actually have to do a lot of teaching nowadays. There's so much great content out there. All you have to do is ask one of your friends, hey, I was listening to this podcast, or I watched this video. I'd love to watch it together or listen to it together and hear your thoughts. You just go, hey, what's your perspective on this? And that can open the door to a great discussion, leading to hope for their life. Much of our world thinks in the way of, for me to win, you have to lose. Let's be honest, that's not true. That's not what Jesus says. He brings hope for all of us, that all of us can succeed in the vision of God's plan for our life. We can be hopeful and bring hope for all. Let's take a moment right now, and we're going to have on the screen a prayer for you to pray. Just take a moment right now and pray that prayer and really think about the words you are praying. Amen. Abby's going to close us off with some discussion questions for whomever you're with, or if you're by yourself, just really have some great time to think and ponder over these questions.
All right, so the discussion questions are, how does Jesus bring you hope? How does Jesus bring you hope? And then, how can you bring hope to another? Especially this holiday season, how can you bring hope to another?
We appreciate you guys joining with us. Obviously, we're on the recording today instead of being in person on Thursday. But again, hope you guys have a great Christmas. We love you and enjoy the holidays. See you soon.
Christmas.